Welcome to Soapbox Interview. I'm Matt Skeetsa, and today I'm joined by Mark Carroll. Mark, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what seat you're running for?
Sure. My name is Mark Carroll. I'm running for as a Republican for the 11th Congressional District here in Illinois, which includes 8 counties, primarily west of the Fox River. It's a huge, huge district.
Right, it is.
The current incumbent is Bill Foster.
And what about a little bit about your background?
Sure. I am a husband, a father of 3 boys. I live in North Aurora right now with my wife and our 3 kids. I've been a coach in the Fox Valley area for about 14 years, youth sports coach. I'm an elected trustee in North Aurora. I have been serving there for 8 years as a trustee, and before that, 5 years on the Planning Commission. I'm a practicing attorney. I've practiced law since 2001. I graduated from Northern Illinois Law School, where I met my wife. So it was a good law school career for me.
Sure.
And I currently serve as in-house counsel in the financial services industry, where I see every day kind of the overreach of the federal government and experience it in my job every day.
So when you're not doing your campaign stuff or the financial side of it, what do you do for yourself, for fun?
Up until I started running for this campaign, I spent a lot of my time coaching. I love coaching. My oldest son is 18 years old, just graduated from high school.
Okay.
I started coaching when he was in T-ball 14
Coaching
years
baseball?
ago. Baseball and basketball.
Okay.
It's kind of selfish or selfless passion.
Sure.
It's kind of like herding cats at the T-ball level, and it's fun to grow up with them and get to that level where they're a little bit more mature, and the dugout talk changes quite a bit from when they're 14 or 15 compared to when they're 6.
So let's take a look at your district again. Geographically, how is it formed? Because obviously with the gerrymandering and everything that took place, and people aren't quite familiar with their own districts even now, and they should check them. So let us know about the district.
Most of our district used to be included in the 14th district, but after the census, when the Democrats got done fixing the map, the new 11th district goes all the way out to Cook County and Lamont, includes Bolingbrook, Naperville, part of Will County in Bolingbrook, and then Naperville, Aurora, and then goes all the way up to McHenry County, Boone County, touches on DeKalb County and Lake County. So
that's pretty sizable
and all of Kane.
Yeah, yes, that's pretty sizable.
It is.
So as you ventured through your district, and let's just take the first couple years into consideration, have you noticed a change within the district of how things were, how things are now, different businesses, the people?
I would say that the district's a very diverse district. I mean, down by Bolingbrook, Naperville, Aurora, it's much more urban, and then as you get parts of western Kane County, there's smaller towns and more rural. And then you get up into McHenry County, the Belvedere area, DeKalb. It's a pretty, I would say, pretty conservative, pretty rural area, and then you get in a little bit further into Lake County, get a little closer to Chicago, and it becomes urban again. So it's a mixture. It's a diverse people, diverse businesses.
Right.
And it'll be, to be honest, it'll be a challenge to represent the whole district. And I think I'm in a good position to be able to do that based on my experience, my background. I'm the youngest of 9 kids, so I've been kind of fighting for my voice since I was a little kid in a huge family. But I think people are sick, and from what I've heard, people are sick and tired of electing the same type of politicians that they come back for parades and to shake hands when it comes time to get reelected, and then you don't see them for 2 years. And I think that's what our current incumbent has done. And
Right.
he's been in there for 6 terms, and we're hoping to upset the apple cart.
Who is the current incumbent?
It's Bill Foster.
Oh, Bill Foster, I see.
Yeah.
So, have you ever run for political office before?
I have. I'm a current trustee in North Aurora. I'm actually the only person in the primary that's ever run for office and successfully ran and been elected. So I am been a trustee for 8 years in North Aurora. It's a nonpartisan position as a trustee.
Sure.
But we see a lot of the same issues. We deal with crime. In North Aurora, we're just north of Aurora. We are a separate town. I get asked that a lot. Oh, you're the north part of Aurora? No, it's about a 20,000 person town. We're very proud of our law enforcement. We're a very proud town, a very nice community along the Fox River. It's a great destination. My wife and I moved there about 13 years ago. About 17 years ago. Bought our first house there and actually decided to stay when we upsized our house, and we've loved living in North Aurora.
So, as a trusteeman, you've been in there now for, you said, 8 years?
Yes.
8 years. And obviously there's a quite a bit of a difference when you go from that position to being a U.S. congressman. Why did you make that jump?
Well, here, I think based on my education, I'm a Hillsdale College graduate. I'm a practicing attorney. I am an elected official. I believe that background, those skills will translate into being able to serve the people of the 11th District. As a trustee, public service is public service. If you're a selfless person and you put the concerns and needs of your constituents above all else, those are the type of people we should elect to whatever office. And I believe in the primary that I'm the most qualified to take on Bill Foster and defeat him, but then also to govern. I think my Hillsdale College education and my law background make me uniquely qualified to actually kind of rip that power out of the federal government and bring it back to the state and local governments. Serving on local government, you see the importance of the people that represent us locally. You see the importance of local elections. You know, you talk COVID, the last 2 years has shined a big old spotlight on the importance of school board elections and elections we never thought of, paid much attention to until COVID hit. And now there's this groundswell of energy that I think will benefit the Republicans, definitely. But I think it's important not to just go to Washington and continue the business as usual. I think we need to elect people that understand that limited government is the key, and America is served best when the power is held in the hands closest to the people. And for too long, Washington has been stealing that power and holding on to it, and everything that they do is about the next election and getting reelected, and I'm hoping to change that.
So when you look at over the last 2 years, obviously there's quite a few events that have taken place across America and quite frankly around the world. You know, between the rioting of BLM and Antifa, the pandemic, is any of those factors, all of them maybe, or one of them in particular, that really pushed you into the race?
Well, I'm a strict constitutionalist, and there's two things that I can point to. Having served as a staff assistant in the House Judiciary Committee, I get to witness firsthand like the statesmanship of some really great statesmen. Henry Hyde was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He played Georgetown basketball for Georgetown, and he was like 6'8". He was just a larger than life guy, but he understood that you could stand firmly on principle and still respect the people and understood the proper scope of the federal government. What I saw over the last 2 years, two examples of where President Biden actually, in my opinion, broke the law, and there were crickets from the legislature, especially from the people in his own party would never criticize him. But the Congress as a whole didn't push back on that overreach. The first was the eviction moratorium, where President Biden knew he actually got notice from a sitting Supreme Court justice that any further action to extend it unilaterally without congressional action would be unconstitutional. And he did it anyways because he only needed 30 days, and he knew that it was unconstitutional. He got his 30 days, and by the time it got back to the courts, it was too late. It was moot anyway. The second time was the OSHA mandate. I work in an industry where, in a big company, where Biden did the same thing. He knew that his action would not be supported in the courts.
Sure.
He directed OSHA to mandate on businesses, and then he knew that by the time the businesses got it implemented, and then he could slow roll it through the courts, and once it got declared constitutional, it would be too late. The businesses already spent the money and put the infrastructure, and he accomplished whatever his threshold goal was of 70% or whatever. And so that was kind of the last straw for me, because you didn't hear any pushback from Bill Foster or any other Democrat on that type of overreach. And there was a time, not too distant past, where that type of an overreach by one branch of government would be hammered on by the legislative branch. And we spend way too much time administrating by executive order and not enough time legislating like permanent solutions for the people in the 11th district. I mean, we've got gas prices at $6 a gallon. We got empty store shelves. We've got a border that we don't even have a border. It's just porous, where there's drugs, terrorists, and everybody else coming through the border every day, unchecked. We have no idea who's coming across our borders, and our priorities are so misaligned. And that's, in a nutshell, why I decided to run.
So we'll take a look at Congress in a second, but let's look at your district again, and it's the 11th district.
Yes.
Do you have any opponents for the primary?
I do. There's five other opponents in the primary. I think we all agree substantively, for the most part. We're Republicans. We're the Big Tent party. I've been endorsed by the Illinois Family Action, Naperville Township, Lake County Central Committee, Illinois Federation for Right to Life. I'm a firm Second Amendment supporter, and a number of other local politicians, local representatives. And I think we're positioned pretty well. But I didn't decide to join this race until February of this year. So I'm a little behind the eight ball as far as fundraising for two of my, I would say, the opponents that had both run in prior congressional races and have been campaigning for 2 years, have a head start on me. And so, but since in that time, since February, we've gained a lot of ground and have a lot more ground support than any other candidate in the race.
So, I don't want to, badmouth any of your opponents. We'll talk to them some other day. But let's look at Mark Carroll. Where within this race, what sets you apart from them?
Again, I think substantively we're all pretty close. I think what sets me apart is my experience, the skill set that I would bring, the fact that I'm the only one that's ever worked in Congress and actually knows how the committee system works, how the legislative process works. So there's no learning curve when I go to Washington. I'll be able to drop a bill in the hopper on day one. And the other thing that sets me, I'm not going for a promotion or to boost my career. I'm going because I think America's at a tipping point, and it's really, really important that Republicans elect the right Republicans, not just any Republican. And I think I'm the right Republican to beat Bill Foster and to be able to govern. So I think it's my experience as an elected trustee, as a practicing attorney, my Hillsdale College education will all play into that. And being the youngest of 9 kids, I know that I'll be held accountable if I take a vote that 8 of my brothers, and I'll get 8 texts immediately, probably while I'm on the House floor.
Right.
But I'm pretty excited. I met Bill Foster for the first time the other day, and he actually approached me and came up to me and shook my hand and knew who I was in the primary, so I know he's paying attention now. And I think they're afraid. The Democrats are afraid that this district's going to turn red, and they should be.
There's a lot of focus on the Supreme Court now with several issues, but quite frankly, let's take a little peek at Congress, because it's a dumpster fire. And outside of, I don't care what party you look at, Democrat or Republican, there's only a handful that you can look at and say, okay, thank you for doing your job. How do you fix this thing? What's wrong with Congress?
I think the first thing that's wrong is that there's way too much power in Congress, and we continue as Americans to elect people that say they're all about public service, but they continue to serve themselves. So I'm a firm believer in term limits, and I think I've been asked the question, well, you're only one vote, you're only one person, which is absolutely true. But I think what I can bring to the table is, as an attorney, I've worked as a litigator and in the adversarial process. Being able to draw people to our ideas is critical. I believe that the Republican values are good for America. I think it's the best path forward, and I think we just haven't done a very good job of selling our message. And I think there are a lot of Democrats on the other side of the aisle that are sick and tired of being ruled by the loudest voices on the left, and they care about what our schools look like and what's being taught in our schools, what's the definition of life, the definition of marriage, the definition of gender, all of those things. They have kids in schools too. They don't want that, what's going on. And I think there is a lot of room for reasonable people to come together. But again, I think I mentioned it earlier, we've got to stop administrating by executive order. Congress actually has to do its job. And it's nice when the president does executive orders, because guess what? Congress doesn't have to, they can wash their hands of any tough votes, and then they can campaign and get reelected. And I'm a firm believer in term limits. Like I said, I don't want to go to Congress and be a lifetime politician. I believe 4 terms should be the maximum for a U.S. House representative, 2 terms in the Senate, and then 2 terms as president. And I believe in term limits all the way down the line. And here, look at Illinois. We're like a poster child for a state that needs term limits. We just finally got rid of Mike Madigan after, 52 years?
Well, he got rid of himself.
Well, right, right. Yeah, that kind of solved itself. But
Yes. So let's kind of roll it back into your district. And as you've had events, met people, and I'm talking from both sides of the aisle, Democrats, Republicans, what kind of messages have you received from your constituents?
I think people right now at this point in history, they feel unheard and hopeless, and like their government's completely tone deaf to their needs. And here's something that I believe as a Republican, people that will always feel that way if they believe that the government is the solution to every one of their problems. And I would say the government's never the solution. The government's most often the problem. So
Wholeheartedly agree.
So my goal, my reason for running is to return us to that limited government and bring us back to the power in the state and the local governments. Now we live in Illinois, so that means that we have to elect Republicans all the way down the ballot so that their voices can be heard in Illinois as well as in Washington.
Very good. Mark, thank you for joining us today at SAT Media, and I wish you best of luck with your campaign. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. And just, it's Mark Joseph Carroll. I'm the last on the ballot for the 11th district for the primary. Primary is June 28th. So go out and vote.
Very good.
Thank
sir.
you.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.